All right, Rob, just tell us about yourself.
Well, lifelong entrepreneur. Started when I was 14. I don't want to do the math.
What do you mean you started when you were 14?
I started a window cleaning business.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And I mean,
because I was thinking in my head, what do you do at 14?
yeah, you started window cleaning. I was actually too young to scoop ice cream. I wanted to work at 31 Flavors or do something I could do. Mm-hmm. I just really, really badly wanted a job. I love to work. And I couldn't do it, so I just decided to clean windows. Did it privately. Then my dad was a mortgage banker, and he did a big townhome project, sold a bunch of homes in there, townhomes, and he got me in touch with a sales lady, and I ended up having like 163 townhomes to clean, hired my buddies, and I said, oh my gosh, this entrepreneur thing is awesome. And that just set me forward. Yeah.
That's early.
It was really early. Yeah. And then 17, I started a window painting business. So, gosh, I can't even do the years. That was, I was like 17. Who cares what the math is? But it was a long time ago. And it was right before they moved to laminates. So you remember car dealerships probably still do, big sales, big yes. letters. And so did Taco Bell's, McDonald's, Jack in the Box, all of those did the same thing. And I said, I could do that, but I can't actually paint. So I lived in San Diego at the time, and I hired a couple artists that I found at a car dealership, husband and wife team. And I said, hey, how about I get the business and you guys do the painting? I'll keep you really busy. And lo and behold, I got 163 Jack in the Boxes.
Wow.
Or, actually, it was more than that. Sorry. It was much more than that. It was 223. And Jack in the Boxes, McDonald's, and Taco Bell's, mostly Taco Bell's. And then I sold it to them. The laminates started coming out, and I don't know what happened to them at that point. And I evolved out of that. And then I got a little burnt out, and I started working for people. My big dream, like I said, I like to work. My big dream was to plan Super Bowl halftime shows and really big events. And so I, again, lived in San Diego, drove and applied in Los Angeles to a bunch of firms, got a job with Merv Griffin Productions. Do you know who Merv is? Mm-mm. No. How old are you?
36.
36, okay. Yeah, so you're probably just at the cusp. Well, Merv was like a big deal. He was like Oprah. Back in the days when there was 3 big channels.
Right.
But he's a really big deal. And he went on to invent Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. And he became a billionaire.
Sure.
And then he went to buy all these event companies, and he bought a company that I went to work for. They had just been bought. And I was actually event producer with a New Yorker, Bethany Frankel. Do you know Bethany?
No, I don't.
New York housewife.
No.
Yeah, she's really, she's everywhere. She started Skinny Girl Vodka.
Okay, yeah,
later.
I know that.
Yeah, and she's exactly the way she was way back then. I mean, this was a long time ago, and she's been very successful, and so I decided that the event space, the people in the event world wasn't really for me. And I just branched out on my own and went and started an event production company, worked for Steve Wynn, lived in Las Vegas for a bit. And then from there, decided really, I like this entrepreneurial thing. I'm pretty good at it. And I'm going to do something that matters and I care about. And I got into the internet. And my first business was Surprise for Dogs.
Surprise for Dogs?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying surprise. It was about dogs because that's really what I'm passionate about.
I thought you meant the name was Surprise. Gotcha.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I went to start so this is in 99. I got my first black lab buddy, and I just jumped into that business of digital marketing and all of that.
Yeah.
And it was to call out the pet industry and all the bad stuff they were doing. And it was called Pet Consumer Reports. And it was back in the day, you could actually make money on e-magazines and,
like blogs type things?
Yeah, but we didn't have blogs back then. It was right at the beginning of the internet. So it was newsletters,
Yep, I understand,
and
yeah.
e-magazines and all that.
Yeah.
And then Consumer Reports called me because I copied their font and tried to make it look similar. And they said, no, you can't really do that. You have to give us that domain, the head legal department. And so I did. And I said, okay, I'm going to do something else. And that just set forth my interest. I started working for a lot of different companies, big banks, learning on the backs of some really big companies. And then from there, said, I'm going to come back to pets. And I think that I can serve dogs really, really well and, make a go of it.
Yeah. And so now now it's kind of seems like you're doing a bunch of different things, helping out other companies, helped me out quite a bit in some of the stuff that I've done. So catch us up to speed with where you're at now with Gussy's Gut, and Gussy's here. So chilling. He's a good boy. How old is he?
He's 8.
Cool. Looks good.
Yeah. Well, that's what a raw diet will do. That's what, regenerative, healthy, gut. Look, he's ready for the command. He's like, just say the word.
Yes. Talk to me about all that, because I'm so interested in that. I've been recently in my own health journey, and with dogs, it's like this whole new stratosphere for everybody. But for me, I'm very fascinated in the dog space and the health space and the regenerative farming and the grass-fed. Like we have the grass-fed beef, which you've helped source for us and everything. So tell us a little bit about all of that. Like, I'm so interested in that because I know what I know, and that's, obviously that's all you can know. And I've myself got into like super health with biohacking and eating clean and understanding where my food comes from and understanding what processed food means and what it can do to you. And obviously, I feed a raw diet, you feed a raw diet. And so talk to me about all those things, because that's something I'm really excited about.
Well, it's interesting you said the way you phrased it, what it can do to you. Food can do something to you or for you. And so the to you part would be all the things that are in food that we're now learning quite a lot about, petrochemical derived dyes, chemicals, synthetic additives in the form of vitamins. And sometimes they look really decent and innocuous on a package. But the way they're made and processed, and then what they do to you in when your body's trying to transform them is very different. Versus what food can do for you is like, the soil it's grown in matters. The health of the animals that you eat matters. What they eat matters. The way they're treated matters. So we know a lot more about that now. We didn't 20 years ago. There was grass-fed cows, but there wasn't like grass-fed marketed cows in the grocery store. So we're in a good place now. We know a lot more. And so when you know better, you do better. And raw-fed dogs. So I just fed Gus today because I'm traveling here, a freeze-dried, really high-quality raw meal, but it's freeze-dried. And I noticed his poops were huge. And I thought, well, it's interesting. Like, he didn't really absorb a lot of that. Well, when I feed him 1.5 pounds, sometimes 2 pounds of raw meat, organs, bones, meat a day. His poops are not 1.5 to 2 pounds. They're like a quarter of a pound. So where does all that go? It's not all moisture. He's absorbing this and he's processing it. It's kind of crazy, So I look at that. And then I look at all the details, like, every single thing that's in it, the life of the animal. For our treats that we have at Gussy's Gut, we get all of that from Georgia at a place called White Oak Pastures from Will Harris. And I've been on the farm. I've been with the pigs, literally. And there's no animals treated better. They're treated like pets. Mm-hmm. And what they eat is incredibly clean. And they're not organic certified, but they're better than organic. They're regenerative, and they're a savory hub. People just Google that. You'll see it's quite impressive. And it's just because they made a decision. They don't want to be bound by the organic standards. They don't believe those are worth what they used to be.
So what would be the difference between organic and regenerative?
Well, regenerative is organic and better. So regenerative just means that the soil's treated better, cleaner, and turned over more naturally. So there's a carbon cycle. So people can Google that. And the carbon cycle is turned over more and more. Some organic farms are not. They're, just one or two crops that are grown on, and they're technically to organic standards, meaning no pesticides, no herbicides, so you don't have the nasty chemicals that are going into them, but the soil isn't quite as nutritious. So the things that are grown on, I don't care if it's lettuce or a cow, things that are grown on that dirt is going to be healthier in a fully regenerative farm. And there's organic regenerative. It's just another certification. I'd take a really high quality regenerative over organic any day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then not to be confused with biodynamic. Biodynamic is another way of treating the soil that is very interesting, but I think really what it comes down to when you look at like what's available in most grocery stores and most pet stores, you're not going to really see a lot of biodynamic. It's kind of a specialty. It's going to be organic or regenerative.
Yeah.
And hopefully we see more regenerative.
Yeah, it seems like a more sustainable thing too, in how you use the soil and how you're like almost harvesting the soil.
Yep.
And I learned a lot about that I've listened to the owner of, I think, White Oak Pastures before on Rogan's podcast, and
Yep.
I watched how all that works. It's very interesting how, and again, like you said, I think it's important to understand like what we put, like the animals that we eat, the fruit that we eat, the vegetables that we eat, all that stuff. It matters where it's grown, how it's grown, and it's just the same thing for dogs and what they eat. And so I've been on this path of no processed food for my dogs for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's why when we go to the vet and they have like the big milk bones and they're like, "Can I have a treat?" And I'm like,
No, thank you.
they will just explode on that. I'll pay for it later. He may like it, but and maybe not. I mean, so my point is I've been really researching all of the health and how it affects your energy, how it affects your skin, how it affects your
mental.
I was just going to say, your mental state of mind, your anxiety, your lack thereof. And so with dogs in the last, 10 years, we are now seeing a more commercialized, no processed, highly processed food with the raw diets. And you can go extremely granular to going to the neighborhood butcher and getting all your own stuff, or ordering from a company like We Feed Raw or any other company. So it's interesting, this shift in education, and I try to explain to people because people feel like I am like making them feel bad or blaming them for eating kibble, their dogs, of course. And I'm like, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just trying to educate you on what is reality.
Yeah.
Because of course, sometimes raw food can be more expensive than but it's, you get what you pay for. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So now catch me up to speed to after you've done like so what are you doing now? Treats with Gussies, or what do you that's where you left off. What are you doing with that?
Yeah. Well, you were asking about Gus. So he just real quick, I'll just top that off with, he eats organs, he eats meat, he eats bones, he eats, fat, lots of fat. He does not eat a low fat diet. And if you look at him, he's built like a coyote, and that's a Labrador. It's not common. People, if it wasn't for some of the gray he's got, people think he's a puppy if they see him from behind.
What fat do you use? Like, what do you?
Animal fat.
Beef or?
Oh yeah, whatever he's eating, I just get the fat.
Whatever protein he's eating, you'll do the fat.
Yeah. If even down to like the turkey will be the brown meat as opposed to the breast.
Right.
Or I'll just give them, what did I do yesterday? I had some of my tallow that I fry things in for me, and grass-fed tallow, and I just gave him a tablespoon, as a treat. He gets a little thin slice of grass-fed butter every morning and at night, like just as a treat. It's what I wake up and give him, and he gets yogurt because I eat really high quality stuff, so I share it with him. He gets crazy high quality grass fed yogurt. It's regenerative also, and he'll get olive oil if I have some. I'll throw it in his bowl. If I want to make him drink, I'll throw olive oil with water, mix it up, and make just on demand. You know how useful that can be when you're busy and you just want him to drink. And he gets coconut water. So
cool.
I do. I just bought him coconut water and gave it to him in the hotel before we left. And I'll do 50-50,
Just dilute it.
Spring water, just dilute it. Yeah. And he just gobbles it up. So I can control his urine, so I'm not caught on a plane with, him, needing to go. Yeah. But, that's really all I do. And those micronutrients in those things, the organs and the fat, and it's in chicken skin, it's in bones, certainly. People think bones are just calcium. They're full of nutrients. They're a complete food. So if you give enough of those things, he's lived most of his life without any supplements. The only thing he's really had the last few years are what I made, which is now Gussy's Gut, and a product called Ion Biome. Intelligence of Nature makes it. Dr. Zach Bush, do you know Zach? Mm-mm. Oh yeah, you should meet Zach. He's a great guy, and that's tightens the junctions of the gut in a very different mechanistic way than Gussy's Gut does, and it's very different.
Yeah,
we could technically source that and make it. We don't think we could make it as good as they do, so we'd rather be in partnership and support them than be in competition with them. They do that at a crazy high level. So
what is that? Is that a vitamin?
It's a liquid. It's tasteless. You could take a tablespoon of it and it's like just water.
And what is it? What's the benefit?
What's in it? It's fulvic and humic acid, and it's in a alkaline base, which is good for dogs, and it's got some silica in it for dogs. The human one does not. And that's the stuff that comes from like ancient deposits deep in the ground, and it actually is really good for our gut by tightening the junctions of the gut, the terrain of the gut. They protect you from outside invaders, whether it be viruses, pathogens, but also chemicals and all that other stuff.
Poisons.
It keeps the stuff out and keeps the good stuff in.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to put that in the show notes if people are interested in that. So how does your company now, like, and the reason why we're bringing all this up is like we got to this point of Gussy's Gut because you really educated yourself on health, wealth, and all the things that make you healthy and think clearly. So how is Gussy's Gut born?
Well, it's named Gussy's Gut because it's all about his gut. He got in the trash. Destroyed his gut. He didn't eat for 7 days. The last 3 days, he didn't drink. So I was super freaked out. I imaged him. Nope, we couldn't find it. I have really good vets. And we went to a really state-of-the-art place. Couldn't find it. So I was really freaked out like the last 4 days. And then he stopped drinking. That really freaked me out. And one day, at the end, it's about day 7. He asked to go out, and I thought, you can't possibly need to go poop. He was going to squat. I went, what? And then he let out a yelp, and it was a bottle cap from a half and half container, and it was crushed. He'd bit it. It bent a little bit and roughed up, and then he pooped that thing out. So it had gone through his whole digestive tract, and imaging never found it.
Wow.
And so it wreaked havoc on his whole. Just imagine it going through these, little spaces. So he, and he's a little guy. He's not that big. He's 49 pounds. So when I started to see like his poops were crazy weird. Like I've never seen anything like this. And I would take pictures. I'd send it to the vet, and I'd be freaked out. Like, what am I supposed to do? So I'm a kitchen sink kind of guy. So I threw the kitchen sink at it. I don't need, if my dog's in distress, I don't need to figure out what is helping. I want a bunch of things to be working instantly. And that was the genesis of our first product. So we call that Daily. That's the name of our product. We're actually going through this about the next 2 weeks, naming it Daily Boost, because it is such a kitchen sink product. It has 19 superfoods that we ferment. I mean, we've went over the top with it, and it's really what I did for him. And it caused just a dramatic turnaround in his gut health. I mean, it was just like almost instantaneous. It was like 3 weeks. I was like, whoa.
Wow. So you created, so that's all this was created is Gussy ate a cap, went through his whole body, messed him up. It's the same thing like when you go on a really harsh antibiotic or something, right? Where it just destroys. Like I did, what did I do? Oh,
Cipro?
amoxicillin, I think I got, because I got nipped by a dog. And so I was on a really heavy antibiotic. And then my wife was telling me that after you should do something like that, she was following this guy that had drinks like aloe juice and all these things to replenish your gut, basically, and
calm your terrain.
To calm everything down.
Yep.
What is in something like that? Because like I said, I'm super fascinated with this, in my eyes, this new revolution of dog health. Yeah. Like understanding that we can give them vitamins and supplements if needed, and we can add things like Gussy's got. I add it to the raw food that my dogs eat. Like what is in a product that makes it better? Like why does it work?
Yeah.
You know, like what are we doing?
Yeah. So I created this on my own, but I actually realized that 25 years ago when I was now 7 years ago when I got my first Black Lab buddy. I hired Dr. Ian Billinghurst to teach me how to feed raw. And so we did phone consults. He lives in Sydney, Australia. And are you familiar with Marty Goldstein, Dr. Marty?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was also my vet, telehealth. This is from San Diego, so telehealth consults. And Marty has a brother named Bob. Both of them are geniuses, veterinarians. They both said, you need to feed raw right away. And you need to go read this guy's book. I said, I don't have time to read a book. So is he available, like, for me to consult with? So we did phone consults. And what I saw in the change of my Black Lab buddy was miraculous. It was within 4 weeks. I was like, what? And I was always the guy who we grew up, like, when we barbecued and we had spare ribs, we'd give them to the dogs, but they were cooked. So we thought that you cook bones before you give them to the dogs. It's actually the opposite. When you cook them, you change the molecular structure, they splinter, and that's dangerous. You never want a splintered bone swallowed. So when you give them raw, they break, and they could be crushed really easily. And it's really the way they should be. So for millions of years, that's how wolves, their predecessors, ate. And that is called biologically or species appropriate feeding for animals. Makes sense, right? It's just the way they have evolved to eat. Dogs and cats are pretty similar in that they eat prey. The gut contents of their prey have fermented foods. Those are usually plant-based. You don't need that much because I don't care what a wolf is taking down. The gut is in relationship to the animal is much smaller, and certainly for cats, mouse, rabbit, bird, little guts. So you don't need that much. A little goes a long way. So that's why our product is like you just need a teaspoon per like 20 pounds of your dog's weight. It's nothing. And it provides a really substantial benefit per day. So we just daily, the first product that we're calling Boost coming up, that is 19 superfoods, and they are all designed to do different tasks. So, when you eat kale, it has a benefit. When you eat lettuce, it has a benefit. When you eat carrots, it has a benefit. And we looked at those and we said, let's provide this range and in this formula, this recipe, and then let's ferment it. And so by fermenting it, you do the job of the gut. We mimic that prey animal, and we make it easier for your dog or cat to digest because it's been fermented. It's like broken down. It's like pre-digested already. And that creates probiotics. Prebiotics are from the ingredients. The prebiotics are fiber, and postbiotics. And postbiotics they're really the metabolite of fermentation. Most people don't know about them or understand them. They're really the payoff and the big bang, the big bonus. Yep. Yeah. But prebiotics are really great because they feed, good prebiotics feed good microbes. Bad prebiotics, sugar, honey, there's a lot of different types of prebiotics. those feed pathogens really, really nicely. And you don't want to feed the pathogens. You want to feed the good guys, because the good guys will stay around in your gut and your dog's gut and your cat's gut, and the bad guys they'll be forced out.
What do you see from the dog's perspective? So you said that it was a miraculous change or difference, or even now with the dog that you have now. Like, what do you see? Like when I feed Gussy's gut, it's not like I'm like, his eyes are brighter. But it's like the same thing for me. It's like when I take, vitamin D or something. It's not like, I can run faster or jump higher now. Yeah. It's just something that I know that I'm deficient in. So what are you seeing when you're, and you can start with raw food, and again, I think it's important for people to know when we're talking about raw food, which I've had several people on to talk about raw diets and go different directions and why and when. I don't want anybody to feel discouraged if they're feeding kibble. I would say 99% of people feed kibble.
Yeah.
However, you can do a little bit of both, and the more you know, the better it's going to help you make these decisions. And so when you switched, when you had that phone conversation with, who did you have it with?
Dr. Ian Billinghurst.
In Sydney, Australia. And he said, go on raw. And you said, how? You consulted with him. What are things that you're seeing?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was scared out of my mind because he literally told me to buy turkeys and hack them up. I bought a cleaver for the first time. I literally was...
It's overwhelming, right?
Yeah, it's and literally my puppy was dragging around a carcass on my... I had linoleum in the kitchen. I said, thank God I have linoleum, and I'd have to take a cleaner and clean it twice. Like, it was crazy. Feeding giblets, and I'm like, isn't this the thing I'm supposed to wash my hands 2 times after I touch it? And I'm like, I'm giving this to what is happening?
Right.
But then you realize your dog is it's different. Your dog is very differently built. I mean, they can literally eat roadkill. They can eat salmonella, all the things we can't eat. And I'm not suggesting that we feed them salmonella, but they have such a resilient, high acid stomach, and they're built differently. And so they can eat that way. And even if they were to get a bad dose of, let's say, E. coli or salmonella, they get malaise for a day, a healthy dog. Mm-hmm. Maybe flu-like symptoms. Maybe, but I've never had that with my dogs. And so you just keep them healthy by rotating their proteins, rotating their diets, keeping them on really good quality food. And what happens is their immune system goes up and their resilience goes up. And you don't have all these crazy issues that everybody has. You don't have these ear issues all the time where, paw licking and rashes and all this stuff, So first and foremost, I want to say, look, nobody needs to be guilted into anything, and what you feed is what you feed, okay? And if you want to learn how to feed raw, go feed raw, okay? I think it's the pinnacle. However, if you can't afford it, I get it. And just know that I'm not selling Gussy's gut as a fix to any bad diet, whatever your diet is. If you have a bad diet, we can't fix it, but we can help. And we can help support the gut. And also know that, that thing you may want to cure, it may be food that cures it, And even though our product is 100% food-based, it's it may not be enough, We get questions all the time can this fix my dog's, chewing his paws and raw? I don't know. If the cause is his gut, we might have a chance. But I can't promise it, I mean, it's until you meet a dog, people say, well, my dog does this thing. And you're like, well, there could be 100, maybe 1,000 reasons why they do that thing, So same thing for us. It's, what's the medical history? What's the genetic history? What's the epigenetic history? What are you feeding? Some dogs are rescued and they've been in and out of shelters 3 or 4 times. They've been vaccinated 3 or 4 times in a year, just assaulted by medications, deworming, and on and on and on. That's a lot to recover from, so you really have to invest in that dog if you really want to get that dog right. So I would say that, for us, we play this small role in gut health and wellness. And it just so happens that when you address the gut properly, a lot of really cool, magical things start to happen and resolve. And we don't know what that'll be for your dog. What we say is give us 90 days, because it takes about 90 days for almost anything to work. It'll take 90 days for you to respond to your grass-fed beef, for what you're feeding. I know you just went through this with your son, changing his diet up. It takes about 90 days. Yeah. And that's why if you look at any of these diets, Mediterranean diet, this and that and the other, they're all like 90-day diets. A juice cleanse is 90 days. There's reasons for this. It's just 90 days. There's a couple things that vets have told me in confidence, and I'll only reveal these two things because it's not a big deal. But it's very interesting when you know the best vets in the world, what they tell you, like over a 3-hour breakfast or dinner. I'm sure you've seen this in your life. It's very, very interesting. And you have these really frank conversations. And two things they've told me is people don't give the right things enough time. Number one, they're switching, just grasping at straws, trying to take action, and but they're not giving things enough time. That's number one. Number two is they don't realize that 30% of all dogs respond great to anything. I mean, it doesn't matter what you put, pretty much a good quality product. 30% so-so, 30% have no response at all. So maybe it's 33, okay? So the math works out. But that is really the general rule. And it makes sense. I mean, because again, it's statistics at the end of the day. You can't really be sure about where the history of this dog is and their age. I mean, just their age alone is one thing. Their breed is another. And then, of course, like that other stuff, their medical history, their diet history, all that stuff. Yeah.
So when in your product, what is in there? You said is kale and things like that.
So all plant. Yeah. So daily is about 19 superfoods, but in one of them is kefir. We use that for like what we call a wild fermentation. So we use Redmond's real salt and kefir, and we ferment the old-fashioned way for thousands of years. People have been doing it, so we don't do anything special. I say what we do what we do at a very high level. And
the ingredients are quality as well.
Quality. So, you've got, when you buy a supplement, there is the sourcing of that supplement, there is the extraction of that thing, and then there is the processing of that, and then the maybe purification or refinement of it. There's a lot of steps.
There's a lot of filters there.
Yeah, and so the more steps you go through, the more you have to pay attention to. It's, most people don't know, like glucosamine, for example. You can get glucosamine from oyster shells, and, you can get zinc from mussels and, other things. So there's food sources of those things. But what the companies have figured out is, well, we can process like algae or, bacterias or petroleum to make things, I mean, most of the caffeine drinks, I don't know if you know this, most of the caffeine we drink, it's petroleum derived. Like, it's crazy, So you can
not coffee though, right?
No, coffee's
You mean bean. Like the actual like the Monsters and the Red Bulls type things? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to name any names, but most of the caffeine ingredient comes from petroleum derived, and most of the ways that you can make these things are very clever. You take a petroleum based product and you add you put it you hire a microbiologist, and then there's a process to consume what's in the petroleum ingredient, and then the byproduct of it is this thing. Yeah, maybe caffeine. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and then they're putting it into other drinks. Is that what you mean? They're just putting that little tiny piece.
They're selling the caffeine,
and putting that into flavor. Flavors. Yeah. Right. With club soda, basically.
Yeah. And it's great, and it's economical, so the companies can buy caffeine affordably, and you don't have with actual coffee beans, you got to grow those suckers, and you got to pay people well to all that stuff, and and then you got to roast them, and then you got to ship them. And they have a weight. I mean, there's all that stuff, but not so much with petroleum. And we have a lot of petroleum byproducts. We want to get rid of them. So you don't want to just throw that away. You want to monetize that whole cycle. So that's what companies do. They find ways to monetize the whole cycle. I mean, this is exactly what we're finding out about fluoride. So they're selling it to municipalities. They put them in the water, and it's a sellable product. But it's a byproduct of one of the ways you can make it is a byproduct of aluminum production.
Didn't who was a state in the United States that just banned it? They just banned fluoride
Yeah,
in
right.
drinking water.
Yeah, you're right.
Forget what
That was
it
brand
is.
new. Yeah.
Yeah, it just came out. They banned fluoride in drinking water now, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
So Gussy's got. I use it with my dogs, and I don't use it every day. I use it like a couple times a week, and then I'll add like the kefir in sometimes.
Yep.
And that's the thing, man. Is I don't know, like what should I be doing? Like if I'm just a dog owner who has dogs, and there's nothing necessarily, there's no symptoms of things. But again, it's like me when I take my supplements.
Yeah.
I definitely notice a difference over time when I do take supplements
Yeah.
and boost my immune system and take the B's and the C's and the D's and all the things, right?
Yep.
But like for dogs, I mean, what can we be doing? I know that you're saying, okay, we have this Gussy's Gut product. It's all these superfoods. It's fermented. It's good for them.
Yeah.
What else is going on? Like, I mean, talk to me about like what I'm interested in is the kibble industry and now the raw food industry becoming very popular. And now there's this, what I'm seeing online, like I get, I'm what we would consider a balanced dog trainer, right? So I believe in balance. I believe when dogs are good, we tell them that they're good. And when they do something that's going to cost them their life or hurt somebody else, I tell them that it's wrong.
Yeah.
So to me, that's subjective, I guess, but that's just how. So my point is I get more shit for posting things about what I feed my dogs
Wow.
than how I train my dogs. And maybe because I'm an expert in dog training and I've dedicated the last 13 years of it, I know a lot about it and I can back up with evidence. But then when I post like, hey, this is what I feed, because people ask me all the time, Tom, what leash do you use? Oh, I made my own leash. What tree pouch do you use? I made my own tree pouch. What treats do you use? Here's the nubs. Like I've curated this catalog of, if you want what I'm using because I'm an expert and this is what I use because it's the best thing right now for this dog.
Yeah.
So when I posted the raw thing, like there was this other day, this one girl, I try not to read comments too much, but sometimes I know for like raw food, I'm like, what's it gonna be? What comment is it gonna be? And this one girl was like, I stay in my lane. I'm not a trainer. I don't tell you how to train, but you're not a nutritionist, so don't tell people how to or what's good for their dogs and what's not. And what she really had a hard time with was I just said highly processed food's garbage. And she couldn't take that. She's just like, no, it's not true. And I'm like, well, to each his own. Like I think that the highly processed food that we would eat, the McDonald's, that is processed so much. There's 100 ingredients in a slice of cheese for something like that, right? So so I'm just out here on this world, and again, I'm not a nutritionist and I'm not an expert in nutrition, but I do know as a human that if we have a product that is not processed, right? So it's not cooked, it's not broken down, it's not steamed, it's not rolled around in dye, it's not added dye, it's not baked at 400 degrees. It's just, there's an animal that was living, it was now harvested for production of meat, and now I'm going to take that liver and it's going to be divided up, and then I'm going to take a little bit of the lung and I'm going to take some of the backbone and we're going to grind all this up, and then we're going to put it, and it's never going to be cooked. It's never going to be processed. It's the only process that it is it's combining them all together.
Yeah.
It's going to be flash frozen, and then your dog is going to eat it at some point.
Yeah.
Versus I've never been to a kibble factory. Mm-hmm. I don't know where they're sourcing this stuff. I know a lot of their vitamins and minerals that they do add are from China and from other parts of the world.
Yeah.
How much do you know about that stuff? I mean, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, like I said, so when I was 28, is when I got into all the digital marketing world, when I got my first dog, and I started that petconsumerreport.com. And people can look that up. You just go to archive.org. You'll see what I did. Mm-hmm. You'll see the logo that I, copied of Consumer Reports and all that. It's a short-lived business, but my intentions back then were to call out the pet industry. I mean, I was really angry because I was just getting this puppy and I was doing all this research. And, they were, I'll just say they were, okay, they've done a little bit better, but they're in the business to make a profit, all right? And they're in the business to make millions and millions and millions of pounds a month of food. And they're in the business of convenience. And that appeals to people. And great, and if you want to feed kibble, feed kibble. Just know what you're feeding. Just know what you're doing. I'm not interested in getting into, skirmishes and tiffs with people. My North Star every day I wake up, and it's to improve the lives of the dogs we serve and increase the years of the animals we serve by a million years added to the lives we serve. That's what wakes me up in the morning. That's what drives me. Anything outside of that is a diversion. It takes away from that goal, and I won't do it.
For sure.
And surprise, diet has a lot of opinions. I mean, look at all the diets we have out there. Look at all the experts. So, if you challenge, you challenge somebody who's teaching the Mediterranean diet, and you were to say that, eating a high seafood diet, let's say, has a higher potential to have heavy metal poisoning, let's say. You're challenging those folks and they don't like it. Surprise. But we have to live in a world where we can hold multiple thoughts at the same time.
Yeah.
We have to live in a world where you say, well, not everything is like binary. It's not yes or no or good or bad. It's like yes and. It doesn't even have to be but. It just say yes and. And if we can do that, if we can hold multiple thoughts at the same time, and people can not be so challenged. I'm assuming people are being sincere, by the way, and they're not just trying to stir something up to get something viral from you, which is a little cheap. But if somebody's being sincere and says, Tom, you don't know what you're talking about, we'll just say, well, educate me. You tell me why you think that's what it is. And if you, really wanted to get into it with them, and that's fine. Give us your opinion. It's great. This is my opinion based on all the things I've looked at. And I just find it's not even anything I can understand that somebody tries to shut down another person and says they're better than or bigger than. It's just, it goes on and on. It's going on currently right now as we speak. It's just, it's just funny to me that somebody would say, stop talking.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. Is I just think in general, like when I talk about feeding dogs raw, they ask me all the time, Tom, you have dedicated your life to the well-being of dogs. What do you feed your dogs? Interesting. Like same thing with like a Gary Brecka. Like, what do you eat for breakfast? Because you know so much about biohacking and being healthy. I'm interested. It's like not a nutritionist, but he's like, well, this is what I do. This works for me because I've invested a lot of time and energy in health, and so or anything else, right? It's like asking Mr. Rogers how he's so happy. The proof is in the pudding. Yeah. You are happy. How did you get that happy? Or you're really buff. How did you get really buff? Yep. Whatever. So for me that. That's what I say. It's like, I just feed a raw diet, and it's very simple. I feed a raw diet because I know that highly processed foods are not great for you. Yeah. Period. Yeah. And there's other reasons. I talk about the podcast all the time that my Saint Bernard, when he would eat 4 cups of kibble, he would poop out 4 cups of kibble. Yeah. Yeah. When he ate 4 pounds of raw food, he would poop out little tiny nuggets. And then they do turn into dust when I touch them. Yeah, I call them spent fuel rods, the bones. Yeah, it's like little owl pellets. Yeah, right? Yeah. You got all that energy out of it. Yeah, they soaked all up. And that was it. I don't need the why or the what. That's it. Yeah, done. Yeah, that's it. But that's what I mean is I think dogs have this you're pushing buttons on dogs harder than anything. You could say. Hey, I feel so much better. I lost 20 pounds because I went on this diet. Nobody would say a word, I don't think. Yeah. But if I say my dogs eat this, people want to claim what's right and what's wrong with dogs so much. They want to say, no, 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 I've done my and I just tell people, it's like back in the day when we would flick through channels.
Yeah.
And now you flick through Snapchat
Hundreds.
or whatever. You just, whatever you're interested in, you're like, oh, that's, but if you're not, you just keep going.
Yeah, that's right.
People have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
But for me, do you remember that documentary that came out on Netflix called Pet Fooled?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty behind the scenes. If anybody's listening, it still should be on there. But it basically pulls the curtain of what's in dog food, and again, there's good dog food, there's high quality dog food, and never my intention is to make people feel bad about their choices of what it is. But for me, I would be like, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me that this was out there? It's not, I fed like Hawk, our kind of our staff dog. He eats kibble. We got somebody out. He eats From, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he eats kibble. He loves it, and he's fine. He's healthy.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, there's Dr. Marty Goldstein has a great documentary out there. I'm not sure where it plays right now, but that's a good one. It's a bit old. Highly recommend that one. Dr. Marty was, did a veterinary show for Martha Stewart. He was Oprah's vet. He was quite out there and served a lot of New Yorkers, and really the go-to guy. I mean, he's got a lot of really great books if people are into books. And then there's another one for regenerative called Kiss the Ground. Did you see that? That's a good one.
Sounds good.
It's narrated by Woody Harrelson, and it's about why the soil is so important. And
because we're running out of it, right?
Yeah, like, we've got that issue. People that are interested in the environment would be interested to know that, carbon sequestration, it's all natural. It's the most, people think that, trees are the number one way. Well, soil is actually the number one way to absorb any of the negative amounts of carbon that we believe we want to get rid of. And it's also coming out right now. A lot of stuff's coming out about carbon as well, because we need it to live. So it's very interesting. And they just let's loop back around on what you said. So, what you basically said was, trust but verify,
Yeah.
So a lot of people come with distrust and they don't want to verify. And I think that's really unhealthy. It doesn't serve them to have an open mind. I think, when it comes to health, we need to, if this was sort of a wheel, what we know usually can be found on a pinky. And what we don't know is all the other fingers and all the bottom part of the circle. And if you know very little about something, but you don't know what you don't know, it's a very dangerous place to be. And if you have no humility and can't at least come from that place of like, gee, tell me, let me learn, what do I not know here? And I've spent my whole life hiring the best people literally in their field in every way I can and asking them, what do I not see here? What am I not seeing? What's my blind spot? I read a book a long time ago, and I thought that was really interesting. And so I always, even as a teenager, when I'd hire great people, I'd say, what is it I'm not seeing here? My other favorite question is, if you were my brother or you were my sister, what would you do in this situation, or what would you advise me? So I ask really, I think, high-quality questions that I'm not afraid to admit what I don't know, and I get really good answers. But people on the internet come at you, and they immediately have this, distrust. And there's contradictions everywhere. Yeah. You can immediately see them. So, for example, somebody will say, I'm a nutritionist. This food has to be, I see this all the time, and it's not in my business because we're a supplement company, not a food company. But in these food companies, these poor food companies that are trying their damnedest to do a great job and make food healthier and convenient for pets. And our friend Amy at We Feed Raw is doing it at a high level and is just doing an amazing job. But in all these food companies, and I know many of them, I see these comments, the food has to be balanced and and where's your sourcing from? Do you source from China? Well, the supplements that a lot of companies have to use, and I'm talking about vitamin and mineral supplements, those come from China. Mm-hmm.
That's what I heard a lot of.
So here you are, like, worried about China, and one breath and the other breath you want a vitamin mineral supplement to balance. All I'm saying is, what we don't understand is that we know far less than what we know. And I think coming at it from that perspective is a healthy perspective for you and for your dog or cat or, your farm, any of your animals.
My cat eats raw food, and it turned him into a savage.
It did it?
Like, I'm not even exaggerating. He is now 14, and when we switched him to a raw diet, there's a company around here called Organics, and they make high quality raw food, and they have a cat nugget that they make, which are little 2-ounce nuggets to make it easy. Mm-hmm. And he was on Purina Kitty Chow or whatever it is, right? Whatever, the big orange and blue bags.
Oh yeah.
With the little cat on the front hitting the fish, just beautiful marketing.
Oh yeah.
But it's food colored sweet corn, basically. Is what it is, little chiclets. So he was obsessed with that, would just love that, just get it, go crazy.
Yeah.
So when we tried to switch him to a raw diet, because the dogs were on raw, and I was like, well, if I can switch my cat to a raw diet, he'd probably live a healthier, longer life, I would assume. So we switched him. And who knows? I also had cats that live 18 years old on a kibble diet, whatever.
Yeah,
it's just.
I had dogs that lived to 14 on kibble their whole life. Yeah.
And it may be just how you feel too, and we'll never really know how they wake up. You go, hey, you feeling all right? They're like, I'm a dog. I'm always happy. Who knows? Yeah. Whatever. So, or I'm a cat. I'm always pissed off. I don't know. So so when we switched him to raw, we put the raw in the dish, and he would turn it away, turn his nose up to it for days. Yep. Turn his nose up. No, I'm not. Where's the good shit? Where's the Skittles?
Yeah, where's the crack?
Where's the sugar? Yep. So, and so it was funny because at one point, we just fasted him. We're like, you need to eat this. Trust me.
Yep.
And then he started eating it. And I think jokingly, my marriage suffers now because of it, jokingly. But
yeah.
My wife is had it up to here with the cat, because what he does now, and I don't know what happened, but he now understands that there's this whole new diet of raw food. And so now I've never seen a cat do this. I've never seen my own cat do this. He never did this. He will get on a counter and take the food off your plate.
Ooh.
You're just sitting there, and he'll come up and just be like, right? Or we have 2 young boys, and when they're done with their dinner or whatever, it's a circus at night. Whoever has kids can relate. It's you're doing the bath time and the brushing the teeth and this, and it's crazy, right? Which is good. It's fun.
Yeah.
But then the cat's gets on, takes the mac and cheese, takes this, takes that. Yeah. He turned into a savage. The other day,
wow.
I defrosted this is how bad it is. I defrosted a sirloin steak that we got at the farmer's market.
Oh, boy.
Everything was frozen. So I put it in the sink, and I just left it in there. And then the next morning I came out, and it's ripped up. There's blood everywhere. He's bloated in the corner.
Oh boy.
He'll open a bag of the nubs.
Yeah.
I can't leave those out.
Whoa.
He'll claw that bag open and eat the beef liver.
Ooh.
I don't know what happened to him.
Did he get any fatter?
No.
Yeah.
He's still healthy.
Yeah.
He does not overweight. Uh-huh. He will, you'd leave to go to the bathroom and come back, and he's eating your breakfast. So now what we tell the kids is, if they're like, I got to go pee, and we're like, all right. So I take their plate, I put it in the microwave. I have to put it in the microwave and shut it to bring him. That's how much of a savage he is.
Whoa.
It's crazy.
You need those fancy chef.
Yeah.
For room service.
Yeah, exactly. Like the little tin
Covers.
things. I did one of those electric mats when you step on it, and he didn't give a shit. He just didn't care, and I was trying, because it was so bad.
Yeah.
It got to a point where we couldn't have food out because he would just get into. So I don't.
It's like he tapped into primal.
Exactly. I tapped into this It's interesting because we're talking about diets, and I tapped into something into this cat that I've never heard of or seen or experienced. As soon as we started giving him raw, he turned into a different animal.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, mentally. And he acts and I'm not around a ton of cats. Obviously, I'm a dog person, but he acts like a kitten. In the morning, you would have thought he'd never eaten. He's sitting there going, meow, 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 just constantly. And I'm like, Jesus, this cat is nuts. Same thing at night for dinner. He's sitting
14.
there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's 14, and he'll just sit there and he'll just hit you. Meow, meow. He just wants to be fed. And it was this very, 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 very sudden shift. The moment he started eating raw food, he turned into a completely different cat. All he wanted to do, he was almost pissed off. He's like, where's this been? And now he can't stop.
Yeah.
He'd eat a whole...
That's tough. That's
Nothing.
disruptive.
Squirt bottles.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yelling at him.
Yeah. He's like, there's a steak.
And this morning, he did it this morning. He got into something. I can't remember what it was. And I'll chase him off the counter, and he'll bring it with him. He'll jump off the counter, and he'll go hide, and he'll eat. And then the dogs are chasing it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It's so funny.
It's really funny.
It's so funny because I have like this most out of control cat, and my dogs are super obedient. And normally it's the other way around. The cat doesn't really bother with anybody. They're just kind of solo, on their own and whatever. And this cat is just,
Did you bring the cat into the marriage or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's kind of like this running joke. Like anybody who's like, man, your cat, my wife, Taylor, she's like, you can have him. So you come home. She'll go out and get the carrier. You can have him.
Oh.
He is brutal, man. He will. And there's just times where my wife won't even say anything because I just come home and I just know he did something. And then it'll be like dinner or dessert or something. And he doesn't care, dude. He gets into it. And he's also a killer. So in the summer, like any other cat, he's a killer, and he loves to just kill. Yeah. And he'll eat whole chipmunks and it's just an interesting because cats, if you give them an opportunity to eat instinctually, they will. Mm-hmm. Rabbits, chipmunks, not too many squirrels, but for me it was my cat will just kill a chipmunk and eat it whole. Yeah. And
lizards, also.
That's way weird. By the way, if my wife wakes up and sees like a regurgitated squirrel or something on the couch, that's not good. No, so my wife and my cat are like, couldn't tell. It's like it's an ongoing thing in my whole like family and household because they're all like, "Oh, did you tell Taylor?" And I'm like, scrubbing up like cats are. But anyway, I think dogs do too. They will primally kill things and eat them if given the opportunity. Yeah. Which is, we talked about this the other day in one of my videos. Dog owners, what do we call anthropomorphism? Oh, anthropomorphism. It's such a long ass word for me to say, but anthropomorphism. They have this idea that dogs are this, and they are this cute, like Gus is here, this cute dog, and they got these little puppy dog
character.
Like a character off Disney.
Yeah.
And and then they'll just turn into savages and start killing things, and it's like, whoa. Like I follow this girl, and she lives out in the country, and she lives on a ranch, cattle ranch, and they have I can't remember the breed of the dog, like big, herding, type dogs. And they kill coyotes like all day long. Oh yeah. Like so she'll take a video, and the dog would just be sitting there wagging his tail, just covered in blood, covered in blood. Yeah. And she'd say, "Oh, and she'd go out and she'd blur the coyote, but they just kill coyotes for fun, and and so I get into that a lot. Yeah. I mean, they're getting into fights. I saw my algorithm's kind of crazy right now on social media, but I just saw this 3 dogs fighting a grizzly bear, which was like heart wrenching because I'm like, how is the dog still alive? Yeah, they were just attacking the grizzly bear, and the grizzly bear was like, brr. Anyway. Yeah. And I was actually thinking, making breakfast this morning, and I'm like, I should have reposted that video. I try not to post things like that because to me it's kind of like it makes my heart drop. I'm like, oh, I hate seeing dogs like under, like the videos of like dogs near water with sharks and alligators. Yeah, no. It's hard for me to watch. Yeah, no. But I was thinking, maybe I should have shared that because people just think dogs they're savages. Mm-hmm. Like they're absolute savages. I saw another video again. It's probably how I got on the bear video is the dog chasing the mountain lion. It's kind of a famous video. Yeah. Mountain lion's just sitting there hissing like this gigantic, powerful mountain lion. This dog's running them down. Yeah. I'm like, that thing sleeps with you. Yeah. Cats are assassins. They're sharpshooters. They're usually independent, and dogs are usually in packs doing those things.
there's a study that just came out about dogs that are fixed versus not fixed.
What is it? Tell me. What's the study? Like, what's it? You're gonna tell me probably.
Oh yeah, well, Dr. Karen Becker just posted it, and it basically says like we thought that dogs that were left unfixed, and Gus is intact.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, and you could see how calm he is, and he's been this way his whole life. Very easily trained, no aggression. He's incredibly ball driven, and he'll drop the ball, let any dog take his ball, nothing.
It's lab life.
Lab life, yeah. And he was my first dog that was intact. My vet was suggesting it kind of quietly, calmly, and we have like a super tight personal relationship. He can trust me, I can trust him, and he was just like, you may want to be thinking about it for this guy. He'll keep all of his hormones, and that's the
keeping him
force.
Keeping him intact.
Keep him intact. Yeah. And then he said to me, the bones become, or the cartilage and all the connective tissue, all that, it becomes more brittle, and they have ACL tears and all that stuff, all the things that big dogs usually have when they're fixed a lot more easily. So when they don't, those are supple. Well, I'll show you I can bend his Gus's. He's 8 years old. I can bend it all the way so it touches his forearm. I can't do it, but he's got the flexibility of a puppy. Only puppies have that, and then they lose it over time. It's because we fix them, and so they don't have all of the benefits of the hormones. The hormones are the life force that keep us feeling good and like loose and wonderful, and we lose those over time anyway. But he has all the benefits of that. Now, the big thing for me is that the study shows that when you don't fix a dog, they can run away and go breed some other dog and heat. That's possible, certainly with certain breeds, and you know this all too well. But the truth is, now we're finding out that dogs can actually be more aggressive when they're fixed. The study shows that. So you can go to Dr. Karen Becker's social media. She just posted it, and go find that study. And it's just funny. It's just like it's that we don't know what we don't know, and sometimes what we think we know at the time. I mean, how many studies have come out that said one thing, and then 5-10 years later they're completely different. If anybody needs proof of that, you're just not reading. You're not paying any attention.
Yeah, or what we find a lot in the dog industry is just what we find in the human organizations and corporations is just funding.
Yeah.
Who's like the American Heart Association is funded by like McDonald's and Pepsi and Coke.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been Harvard research papers have been funded by, I think it was a cholesterol.
Yep.
Scientific breakdown, and it was funded. They said, "Hey, here's some money. Harvard, put this out for us. Thank you."
Yeah, we just found out pretty recently, like saturated fat was demonized, and sugar was it was the sugar industry and all of that. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I might have thrown them away. There's these snacks. I'll have to show them to you, but I've been eating. I'm addicted to them. They're like just grass-fed beef. They're called something snacks.
Oh, the jerky?
But it's not jerky. Yes, but it says in the bag it's not jerky.
Oh.
It's pretty much jerky. Oh. But it's like really thinly sliced steaks and ribeyes. Yep. And all it is grass-fed beef and salt. Yep. And they crisp. They're like chips.
Yeah. It's out of Austin.
I've been going crazy on those.
I'm trying to remember the name of that company.
I ate them on the way. So I ate a smoothie on the way here, and then I'll eat that. So I'm kind of like, well, I'm eating a steak and something snacks, carnivore snacks maybe or something.
Yeah, it's carnivore snacks.
Yeah.
That's the
big red
one
bag.
Out of Austin.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I immediately ordered more.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I tell my wife, you got to try these. And she came in today. She was snacking on them because she came in. I started training this morning, and she came in, and the boys ate lunch. But anyway.
And they're satisfying.
So good.
Yep.
So good. So
they have ribeye.
Yeah, ribeye. There's ribeye in New York State. There's a strip, and they're incredible. So good.
That's making my mouth water.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good. What do you think? And this isn't a yes or no question. This is just in your opinion because you have a background in dogs, let's say, in the business side and behind the scenes, and obviously you're a dog owner. What do you think the biggest problem is with veterinarians, and I've asked veterinarians this, and I've asked people such as yourself too. What do you think the biggest problem is when dog owners are going to the vet and, they say like, oh, we're on a raw diet? Like, what do you think the problem with veterinarians right now with raw diets?
Lack of understanding, that's all.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll go to what you believe, and if you're selling food because the big pet food companies, they're funding these big pet clinics, and more clinics are getting absorbed by these big companies like Mars. And so they're buying up like mom and pop veterinary, and they keep the name, so you don't know. You think it's still,
Jack and Jill's.
Jack and Jill, yeah, right.
Small animal vet.
Yeah, and so the food goes in, and it makes a good deal of money. It brings people back into the clinic. The clinic can remind you that you have an appointment or you need to get new vaccines or whatever. And, so I go to great holistic vets that are pragmatic, that believe in traditional things when needed, but they're very, very, they can discern between this, they have a wide tool belt. So this needs this tool, this needs this tool. So they don't always go back to like, well, you always feed kibble and you always do this and you always do that. So people just naturally go back to what they know. And then people are also reticent to admit when they're wrong. So if you've been, promoting X for a long period of time, it's very unusual that you're going to, is he drifting over to you?
Yeah, he's good. Good.
That's Gus drifting under the table. So yeah, it's when you're explaining it and people are hearing it, people go, that can't be, like, vets love animals, like they wouldn't do that, but it's human nature. It's just very, very simple. People are less interested in seeing what they've been doing wrong. Just, it's just a natural thing, and they're not even doing it consciously.
It's also the education that they're getting too.
Yeah.
Or lack thereof, right?
Yeah, I mean, the big industries buy the stethoscopes at the veterinary schools. I mean, again, Dr. Marty Goldstein, good friend, great guy. He's going to his alma mater, and, he is trying to change the way they do veterinary school, So
yeah,
it's you're up against a big machine. The machine's very big, and the machine did a great job in building the machine.
Same thing with people.
Yeah.
That's what I've been learning. And this is just my own preference, my own experience, and my own way of life, in my life so far, is just understand. I'm like, wait, it kind of seems that traditional doctors are treating symptoms. They're not being proactive. They're not saying, now I go to a naturopath doctor, and we do basically a titer test. Really, we're pulling blood and we're seeing what's deficient, what's not. I do a Dutch test every year. We do genetic methylation tests. I mean, we do everything to just see how things are working, how things are moving, to prevent me from getting into the hospital and then getting sick and then staying on this thing. And it just seems the more I look at the system, that's how it's set up. It's the same thing with dogs. Is here's this vaccine that your dog probably doesn't need, more likely doesn't need. We had a vet on, I think the last podcast.
Oh yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, and she was like, I titered my dog for like 8 years before I needed another vaccine, and that would have been 8 times the amount of vaccine that the dog needed. Yeah, which is like kind of scary.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what I've been realizing. It's like, it almost seems like, I don't want to say doctors, I have friends that are doctors, and my mom's been a nurse her whole life. They're in it for the right reasons, but the system, the whole system that's set up for the money is not necessarily for the patient. That's why they make those medication commercials, like people having the fun. And it's like, this also may kill you. And it also may make your head explode.
Yeah, right.
It's like
chronic diarrhea.
We're sitting here having beers, and it's like, okay. It's the weirdest. Anyway, man, it's just like, I'm, just as a human trying to navigate this world. That's why I like talking about nutrition and health, because every day my mouth is to get dropped. I'm like, what that happened. And like, even like finding out that like, I don't trust Harvard anymore. I don't trust I don't trust science anymore, because it's like, is it real science? Is it getting funded? And the veterinarian, when she was here, she's like, it happens all the time in our industry. Like, a big company will come in and hire these schools or these organizations to run studies to better their brand, and then they'll come out.
Yeah.
And it's like that. It makes me really skeptical now as a human to be like, what do I trust?
Yeah. I mean, I have a different take on it. I mean, I think like, I think that's probably maybe what you meant. Tell me if I'm right. It's not so much that science is the problem. It's the statistics and the people creating studies and what the studies are looking for and what they're able to produce in a study. At the end, what the goal is.
Yeah.
What's that expression? There are liars, there are damn liars, and there are statistics or something like that. Did you ever hear that?
No.
Oh yeah. So, and there's you can do a study and provide a set of statistics that can say anything. So
yes, so that's what I was referring to. Is it we see that, oh my God, and I wasn't even talking about in the dog space necessarily, but we see that all the time in the dog world, where an organization will come out with a set of it'll say science says this, and you look at it and it's actually just polls. It's a bunch of polls from the same organization, and they say, oh, science, and I'm like, that's not. It's really deceiving.
Yeah, I mean, for us, at Gussy's we've looked at the opportunity to do studies, and there's a lot of reasons why we so far haven't, and they're expensive. Number one, we don't want to put dogs necessarily in a study the way that most companies want to do the studies. If you want to do it really well, it's harder than you think.
Yeah.
And we're doing fermented foods. It's been around for thousands of years. It works. And again, we're not trying to invent anything new. We're just trying to do it at a really high level, starting from sourcing to the way we make it and package it.
Yep.
So if we do that, we let the magic of fermentation do what it does, and it's done for thousands of years. And we don't have to micromanage that part. Like, there's no manipulation there. We just have to make sure we make something great.
Yeah.
That's it.
What do you think what can dog owners do? What supplements can dog owners do to, because you could look at the average person, especially living here in New York State, upstate New York, it's like you probably need vitamin D and there's not enough sunlight. Like, what could the average dog owner start supplementing and doing, or maybe how can should an average person do a test on what a dog is deficient in? How do you navigate that? What's your suggestion on that?
I mean, if you have a dog, like I have my dogs from puppies, and I know them, I know their life, and I know pretty much everything about them. So, but if you don't, that's a different story. You might want to get some blood tests and just see what they're deficient in. But honestly, it's really not that big a deal, because it takes a couple years to be really deficient where you're in big trouble. You can feed really high quality food, like we talked about, and get food sourced nutrients and micronutrients. Having a dog go out and play with a ball, if you have a ball dog, that ball running around in the dirt, those are a form of probiotics. And so are streams they run through, the ocean, wherever you live. Honestly, the air has trillions of microbes in the air. So you get natural probiotics. The thing that most people aren't doing well enough is the diet portion, so that the terrain health of the gut and the diversity is sustained and maintained. Because what you want is your dog goes out and plays with the ball, the good microbes get in, the bad ones are kept out. That's the goal. That's it. And they can get all of their probiotics from bushes and sniffing a dog's butt and eating dirt, truly. The question is, can they hang on to them? Is the gut welcoming the good guys and keeping the bad guys out? And that's where our product can come in. That's where, probiotic supplementation is great for, more acute issues or diarrhea, chronic diarrhea. A lot of dogs have that. And probiotics are good for that. But probiotics will not give you gut diversity, because there's only a limited range, Tom, in what could be made in a laboratory and sold. Very limited range. You've got, at least that we know of, 500 species, 500 good microbes, and 1,000 subspecies that we know of in a dog's gut. You will never find those on a store shelf. You'll find a handful of those, a very small sliver of those. So it just is simple sense that you'll not be able to create balance or diversity, quote unquote, in gut from a store-bought probiotic. You do that from the environment and keeping the gut terrain, the lining of the gut, really healthy so that it can actually be hospitable to good microbes and keep bad ones out. And so, to answer your question, sorry, I'm just going off on a quick tangent, but
yeah, sure.
But it's really good food. And even if you're feeding kibble, throw in some different organs, some heart here and there, some liver. You don't have to dose anything. Look, feed your dog more. If you can't 100%, feed your dog more like you feed your kids or yourself. None of us eat by spreadsheet or formulation calculator or,
Except that guy on Netflix.
Oh, that dude.
Try Not to Die or something. I think he does do that.
Yeah, no, is that the one with
Brian
the son?
Johnson or something?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, he's Trip.
It's the Try Not to, or what is it, Abby? Is like Try Not to Die or something where he...
Don't die.
Yeah, don't die. Anyway, that guy probably does live on a spreadsheet, but normally people don't.
Yeah, and so, we managed to live into our 90s. The people who live into their 90s and even the people who live in past 100, they're not living on spreadsheets.
Right.
For sure. And they're eating a diverse range of nutrients. And so what the good news about food-derived supplements is the body is more intelligent with those. So it knows when it's not made in a laboratory, the body knows, you know what, I'm going to take from this thing, let's pretend it's a carrot. I'm going to take the beta carotene I need today, and I'm going to store the rest. So when on a rainy day, I'll be able to pull it out and use it. And the rest of the stuff I'm just going to pee and poop out. And so it's very intelligent. But when you take something synthetic and, it's made in a laboratory, and those are a lot of different supplements, you don't have, the body doesn't recognize it. And so you're like, for example, on a beta carotene or vitamin A supplement, you can overdose. You really can't overdose on carrots. I mean, your dog will have diarrhea, because it just has too much carrots and fiber. But it is more intelligent with the carrots as opposed to the supplement of beta carotene or vitamin A.
What would you say like a complete, something I've been reading is like you need a complete raw diet. From my understanding, that would be vitamins, minerals, bone, organ, muscle, meat.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, whenever I just got like cringe every time I hear complete, because usually it's complete and balanced, and that was created by the processed food industry, let's say. And basically what that's taught us is you don't know how to feed your dog. You don't know anything about feeding your dog. Feed our thing and you'll be fine. And so it's just it's gotten us to just go, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just going to buy this thing, and it's binary. So I'm either safe or I'm not safe. Then the popularization of raw came out, and that was, Dr. Billinghurst. If anybody Googles him, he's considered the father of raw feeding. He's been saying the same thing in all of his books, and for over 40 years.
Got to get him on the pod.
Yeah, he's great. And he just says, look, you'll achieve balance or perfection over time. So when I heard that 25 years ago, that landed on me. For some reason, it landed on me, and I felt okay. And because I was a victim of like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? This is a different species.
Yeah.
And that's normal. And so what he taught me is, first of all, breathe. You're going to be fine. And you're going to feed something today that he needs, tomorrow that he needs, the next day that he needs, the next day that he needs. And over time, you're going to have perfection. You don't have to, there's no perfect balance every single day. In fact, he even recommends you don't feed your dog at exactly the same time, because where in nature does that ever happen?
Right.
So the body's not used to it. And it never gets a square 4 every day, right? Mm-hmm. Like it never gets, your boys don't get a perfect 4. There's just, like, it doesn't exist. So we're reaching for something that's completely, it's impossible. Plus I can even top that. the Chihuahua, what the Chihuahua needs here in New York is different than what the Chihuahua needs in Colorado, than what the Chihuahua needs in Franklin, Tennessee, et cetera, et cetera. The microbiome of all those dogs is completely different. In fact, the microbiome of the dog down the street from you, even if they were brother and sister, or sister and sister, they would be different because of where they live. Literally, it's that specific.
Yeah.
So there's no one dog, no one format, no one standard. And so that's what we're doing. We're standardizing things so that it's marketable and it's easy to sell.
Love it. And it's something that, so for the Gussy's Gut, it's for people who are listening, it's like it's a bag, and it's, I don't want to say it's a powder. It almost looks like a loose leaf tea. Mm-hmm. There's all these different things, and there's a bunch of stuff going on. And so what I do is I think I take a tablespoon and I put it in, and then I mix it around. And sometimes I'll do a little bone broth. Yep. Sometimes I'll do a little kefir. Sometimes I'll do a lot of times the WeFeed Raw will have like the blood. It depends on the temperature. Like, yep. It's funny that you say that, because about dogs never get fed on the same time. Because for me, it's like I'll feed. My in-laws are so funny because they're very like, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it's like anal about stuff. They're like, yeah, this is when dinner is. This is when, and I'll
they hate your cat too.
Yeah, and they're like, this cat's gonna freaking eat our stuff too. Yeah, no, they what they'll do is they'll feed very on a schedule, and it's funny when they come over. It'll be like 2 p.m. I'm like, hey, can you feed Burley breakfast? They're like, breakfast? I'm like, yeah, he didn't eat this morning, because life got in the way, right? We went for a run, and then I had to do this call, and then I had to go to jiu-jitsu, and then I had to do this, and the babies. And so it's funny that you say that, because that's exactly what happens all the time. Or even like today, I brought in a bag, and I got 2 packs of WeFeed Raw, and so I fed him for lunch, and then I fed him for breakfast. I put it in that's a cooler, by the way. It's not really an
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he's always got raw food just all over the place. And so when you put the Gussy's Gut in, is it something that you would do every day or every other day? What do you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, consistency and regularness, it wins the day. So, we say, of course it depends on, if you have a puppy, you need less of what we can offer you than you would have a middle-aged or an adult
yeah.
And an older dog. It's you need very little of what we do, because a little goes a long way.
Yeah.
We say that a teaspoon of our powder, let's call it, is the equivalent of about an ounce of chopped vegetables. So it's that. Because wow. We, freeze dry it and it's very condensed. So a little goes a long way. And the fact that it's fermented means there's better absorption. So again, you don't need as much. Like, when you have a 6 to 10 time absorption rate when you ferment something versus the raw, you can imagine you'd have to feed a lot more of the raw stuff to get the benefits, right. To get the numbers,
yep.
Whatever those numbers may be. So I'm really proud of our company, because, we don't sell something that you need a ton of to feed, and a little goes a long way, and it's potent and it does its job, so consistency always works. Now, if you're in a good spot, after say 90 days, you're in a really good spot, go every other day, but just be consistent with it.
And what should I be looking for, or a dog owner, if they're trying Gussy's Gut, to get that probiotic and to get all those nutrients and the superfoods that we've been talking about? Like, what do you look? Is there a way to gauge it? Is there a way to say, yeah, this is working?
Yeah, one of the easiest ways is the poop looks great. Like, that's one of the big things we see.
Yeah, and for people who feed kibble, what would that look like? The firmer.
It will theoretically. Kibble's hard. It depends on the type of kibble.
Do you have a good? Sorry, I'm going off topic here.
Yeah.
But do you have a good kibble that you recommend? Like, is there a?
Well, my first.
Is there a good kibble brand that puts out high quality? And the only reason why I don't know is because I don't feed kibble. It's not that I'm saying they're all garbage. They're all junk. Mm-hmm. I know there's probably a spectrum for raw food too. There's
sure.
So do you know any?
No, I don't. I don't make it my business. I don't know much about it. It's been a long time since I've been in the stores. If I did look for one, like I said, I travel with some freeze dried raw. That's what I brought. Mm-hmm. So kibble would have been convenient, but now with freeze drying, it's great. So that's what I use. Anybody who's doing kibble, you can add things to it. Like you could do a beautiful pasture raised egg. Just add that to it, and you'll see crazy results.
Yeah.
Like just the difference, the delta between, just the kibble and that new thing you're adding, or a little bit of liver, or, a little piece of heart, or, whatever you can afford. Tongue, marrow from bone, just pop out the marrow.
Just natural.
Yeah.
It seems like we're talking about proteins right here, but it's just natural food.
Yeah.
It's like for us, like when I eat, I'm a big, like in the morning, I'm a big smoothie guy. I've had a smoothie every morning for probably the last 7 years. It's just mainly because I don't have a huge appetite in the morning. So I'm not a big, like 3 eggs, sausage, meat type guy. There's days that I am, depending on
I'm the same way.
Where I'm at in the world.
Yep.
So in the schedule too, like if I work out or I do jujitsu in the morning, I come home, I'll be hungrier and I'll need that fuel. But for me, I guess my point is I'll eat like organic blueberries, organic peaches, organic apple, organic coconut water, organic avocado, and then like some protein. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'll eat every single morning. And then on the way down, like today I ate the snacks, the carnivore snacks.
Yep.
So my point is I need fuel, because if I eat something that tastes probably better. Like if I ate pancakes and syrup and all that stuff, like it's going to be great. I love that shit.
Yeah.
But then within 20 minutes, I'm going to be crashed out.
Or hungry again.
Or hungry again. It's not fuel.
Yeah.
And I realized that as I matured and as I took my career more seriously. So when I would travel to a different country to do a seminar where all these people came out to see me, and I was jet lagged and I was in a different time zone, and the water went down the different drain, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I realized that like in the morning, I was like, I need fuel. Like, I kind of, like I stay away from the pastries and the cinnamon buns and all that stuff.
I know.
Because when you're kids, for me anyway, my parents were like, whatever, fuel is fuel, Cocoa Pebbles and pancakes and muffins. And that's for most people. And again, that's a whole rabbit hole. And I'm not trying to piss off 90% of the people who listen to this, but just saying, like, I definitely notice a difference when I'm eating things that are not processed and I'm eating things that are fuel. So I got to imagine it's got to be the same thing for dogs. So when you see even working dogs, police dogs, hunting dogs, dogs that are doing like even protection work and trials and agility, these are athletes, especially if you get like a Vizsla or a Border Collie or a dock diving, like these are
machines.
We're stretching them, we're using acupuncture, we're putting wraps on them. They're machines.
Yeah.
I could only imagine it's the same principles for them, that if they eat, something like garbage. I don't know.
Yeah, my friend is working right now with pasture-raised proteins, cows in the military right now, and that's exactly right. If it's just all fuel, and dogs utilize fat like we utilize carbs. So they're, if you put them on a ketogenic diet, I love carbs. Me too. And you were talking about your wife. Taylor gave me, first of all, she suggested I stay in Saratoga Springs, which is a great town. So I'm
one of the only reasons why we're still here.
Oh, it's amazing. So I stayed there. I've been walking town, and she gave me a bunch of these crazy bakeries and stuff. She's like, these are the places to go to. So I looked in the window. I'm like, nope. I just, I don't, I nap for like 10 minutes. I usually do that, like a power nap, but I don't want to have to take a nap. Like
sugar.
Oh, those pancakes killed me.
Yeah.
But I love all that stuff. Like, I love it. Yeah.
That's the point, right?
Yeah.
Sugar and flour. And we went to there's a place in New York City called Bubby's. They also have a Bubby's in LaGuardia Airport in the Delta Terminal for JFK. And they have the best, they're sourdough pancakes. They're insane.
Ooh.
Insane.
Oh, see, I would get that if they're in Saratoga Springs, but but anyway, and I love sourdough bread big time. I buy this triple, what is it called? Like extra sour 3-week. It's like triple fermented, and it's super sour and it's so good. it's just great with, grass-fed butter and whatever. Yeah.
Is Kerrygold grass fed? Because that's what I use.
Well, I used to use Kerrygold. I read something about it. I didn't bother looking into it. I have that.
It's about the wrapper.
Well, yeah, there's that, but that it's supposedly not 100% grass-fed, and I don't know if that's true. I just haven't taken the deep dive. Instead, I just said I don't have time for this, and I went and bought.
But is it marketed? I'm going to ask ChatGPT if it is.
Yeah.
Is it marketed as grass-fed?
Yeah. But there's a distinction between 100% grass-fed and finished.
Right,
like the same way in
like steaks,
beef. Yeah. As opposed to like there's grain in the diet, and the difference is just the omega-6s. That's all.
And it says here that according to Kerrygold, their cows graze outdoor in lush Irish pastures for majority of the year.
Majority, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're indoors eating grain or something. But it's not, I'll take Kerrygold any day over,
Can I just ask you, over Land O'Lakes.
Yeah.
Why is grass-fed good?
Okay, so cows are amazing animals. So they are fermentation tanks on 4 legs. And fermentation, we haven't gotten it by the end of this podcast, is like amazing because it processes and makes available to us and our digestive systems what we're eating. It makes it more accessible. It just unlocks it. So when a cow eats grass, it's super high nutrient dense, and it processes that and puts that into the meat, into the protein, into every part of it.
To the milk?
Everything, milk and everything, yeah. And so you want that. So again, what your animal that you're eating eats matters. How an animal lived its life matters. Even if it's under stress, that matters. Oh, yeah. So I went to the grocery store recently and I saw the steaks were super red. And I said, these are all grass-fed. And I said, well, why are they super red? And they said, well, I think those animals were under extreme stress. And I was like, oh boy, I just didn't buy those steaks. I don't want that. And it's adrenaline and it's all this stuff. And for example, like Wild Oak Pastures, they have the corrals before the slaughter, designed by Temple Grandin. And so they're super duper calm. They're humane. They live a great life until the very end. And it's just, that's it. It's quiet. Boom. It's instant and it's painless. So that's the kind of food I want, And same thing with hunting. If you have a good shoot, if you have a good shot, never saw it coming. Like one day, and boom, done. Lights out. So, those are the most humane ways. When you take an animal through stress in these pens and these machines, and then they put a bullet there, not a bullet, thing through their head. And then they hear and they feel all the other angst of the other animals right behind them and in front of them. It's just not good. Yeah,
we had Dr. Stephanie Cotty on the podcast. She has a PhD in animal welfare and agriculture. So that's her thing. She has a PhD and we talked about that. That's a tough, if you like animals, that's a tough job because you got to go into factory farm. Well, I don't know what she does. I can't say what she does particularly, but for most people, you have to go into like factory farming and it's awful. But again, that's why for me, it's either, yes, we're hunting together because my dad owns a bunch of property in Indiana, southern Indiana. And since I was a little kid, we always harvested deer off the property, because you need to manage it because if not, it's going to turn bad and they're going to get diseases and they're going to whatever. And we always ate, it's like I know what this deer was eating, where it was eating. And that was always part of like my life was just, and it's interesting, anybody that, that's a whole rabbit hole. But yes, I totally agree with you. Back to grass-fed, sorry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I mean, people can research why the grass is so nutritive. You can go on ChatGPT as well, but it's really highly nutritive and especially when it's on a regenerative because the soil's healthier, so the grass is healthier. And it's a cycle that feeds itself, right?
Versus grain.
Oh, versus grain, yeah. So the grass-fed, so there are grain-fed animals that are well done, that they don't have high omega-6s in them, high linoleic acid. That's, so you got 3, 6, and 9. You need like a little smidge of 6 and a little bit of 9 and a lot of 3, omega-3.
Yeah.
Grass-fed beef has high omega-3, and the right omega-3, and it's converted in the chambers of the guts of cows, and the omega-6 is low and the omega-9 is low. So it doesn't mean that all grain-fed is bad, or even like grain finished. I mean, I eat it. It's, I feed it to my dog, but I like grass-fed and I like regenerative. So I'm supporting regenerative. It's especially on its way up. I think it's really important. It's something I can do that I think is good for the planet and human beings. And I prefer to have my meat, the muscle, have been fed on grass. That's what I like.
Yeah, that makes sense. When I became an adult, in my adult years, I almost was like lactose intolerant a little bit. Not really like extreme, but if I had like ice cream, I'm just cut up. Like my stomach's all messed up, and it's like acid reflux, and it just feels like it's just not a good feeling. I feel very, very uncomfortable. Yeah. But I'm a serial killer. Mm-hmm. Love cereal. Love cereal. I'm like grew up on it. It's like my favorite snack. It's like a comfort snack.
It's dessert.
Yeah, it's dessert.
It's amazing.
And now we get this Rachel's something or other. It's like a really good like honey, like real honey with almonds, and it's kind of like a Special K mix. It's like $14 a box. It's insane. But I'm like, okay, it's better for me than Fruit Loops. Although Fruit Loops is great. Like back in the day, that's what we grew up on. Yeah. Anyway, love cereal. It's like my go-to snack. And I just started getting same thing. I started getting stomach aches from the milk, and so I switched to
Raw.
A2 grass-fed milk. It's cream on top, and it is so good. It's like sweet, and I can eat it without any problems.
Yeah,
I get no. I don't know what it is with other milks.
Yeah. The A2 is a genetic selection that helps with lactose intolerance. I just read a meme, and it said something like, "There is no such thing as lactose intolerance. There's a lack of ability to digest the milk protein." So raw has the enzyme, the natural enzyme in the milk to digest.
Because it's not pasteurized?
That's right. So when you pasteurize or homogenize or heat, you kill that enzyme, so it lacks the enzyme. So some people have a tougher time breaking down that milk protein, and that's what you have. I don't have that problem, but I drink raw.
Can you eat ice cream okay?
Yeah.
You don't get stomach ache or anything?
No, I love ice cream too. It's another.
I do too. Oof. That's the shitty part.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, my son, we give him, like all of our kids so far, the two, they did, my wife would go to raw milk after breast milk.
Yeah.
And in New York State, is difficult to get raw. You can't get it in the stores.
You have to buy a share.
Yeah, well, you have to. You basically have to go to a farm that is licensed to sell it.
Yeah, it's like a drug deal.
Yep, a legal drug deal, basically, right?
Yeah,
which is crazy.
You got to meet a guy in a corner.
Yeah, pretty much the farmer on the corner.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say it's crazy because maybe it's because there's health reasons. I don't know. I don't know the reasons, but I do know that. Yeah, we do that with the raw milk, and you have to get it from a licensed agricultural farmer.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously want somebody who's doing it the right way. They're in clean conditions. I mean, obviously, but if you have healthy animals and a clean facility to collect that, you should be fine. And I just don't. Like I said, sourcing is everything, so I pay attention to all of that part. I always know your rancher, know your farmer. If you know those things and you can shake your farmer's hand and look them in the eye, and you know what they're doing, you're good.
Yeah, that's important.
We're so disconnected from our food supply. We hear this all the time, but it's true. You go to the grocery store, and there's some people when they survey them, they actually don't know that their steak comes from a farm or a ranch, or a facility. They think it comes from the store, literally. Now I'm not.
So they don't think it comes from cows.
They just don't ever think about it. I think
grocery store hitman.
Yeah. So we're just completely disconnected, and if you're a big food company, wouldn't you want it that way?
Yeah.
If you're one of the big food guys, and so you think that it's all coming magically from the food fairy, and it's not coming from a farm. But if you take the time to go to a farmer's market, I was just at the Franklin, Tennessee farmers market where we now live. And, and we brought the whole company there, and the longest lines, I paid attention to where the longest lines were. It was number one at the Amish egg. All she did was they're Amish folks that sell eggs. That's it. That was the longest line. The second and third longest lines were the meat, the grass-fed meat. And the third and the fourth was vegetables. I mean, of all the things they sell, and they sell some pretty cool stuff there.
Yeah.
But that's the craving that people have. And so that's a level of convenience, going to a farmer's market, or start going on Google Maps, just say, grass-fed farms, just start looking and go, oh my gosh, there's like 5 within 15 miles of me.
Yep.
Call them up. Hey, do you sell direct?
Yep.
And you'd be surprised. It's really, really easy. And the story. You can go visit the cows if you want or not. But exactly, like, you know the story of your food. It's really great.
It's cool. It's cool to know, the sourcing of everything. You know what they're living in, what they're eating, what environments they're in. And that's really cool. It kind of sucks, man. Once you know, you can't unknow.
Yeah, I know.
So now I fly in all my meat. I say fly in like it's some bougie thing. It's just an online, like my dog.
Is it on a private jet? Or?
Yeah, no, that's kind of what it sounded like, didn't it? It's like, no. So now we.
G5?
Yeah. It's just a steak, just seatbelted in. No, we get it in from companies that will freeze it. Like when we went to, we did a seminar in Seattle and we went to the market there, Pike's Place, or is that what it's called? Pike's Place?
Oh, yeah. Where Starbucks was originated.
Yeah, right there. And they have all the fresh salmon. That's like my favorite. I love salmon. My son loves salmon. We're big salmon.
Yep.
The Davis special at my house is salmon, white rice, and broccoli. It's like the go-to, probably for most people too, but that's our jam. So we had some of that, and I was hooked, and I was like, I can't eat anything else. So now if you order more than like $75, which lasts you a couple months because you're getting multiple meals, you're not eating fish every night.
Yeah.
They ship it to you for free to your door, and it's like days old versus farm, because these are all wild caught too, I should say, and they're versus the farm raised and dyed and all that stuff. But once that's the hard thing. Is like once we deal with this right now with with the grandparents. We're trying to like train them. Like my son is same thing. Like we give him cupcakes and stuff and gummy bears, but we really try to make sure it's limited. Where a lot of people are shoving down goldfish and Doritos and cookies, and then we see it. The kids are going crazy.
Yeah.
And people are like, we got a compliment. We went to the dermatologist going back to the gut, working with the gut, and my son Shai's eczema has been an interesting tie of the skin issue of the eczema is a direct tie of the gut. Yeah. So we did the gut test. So we have that whole panel. But anyway, he said, and both of my kids were and he's like, are they always, is he like, oh, are they always this calm? We say, yeah, because they're just so used to just, all the time.
Amped up.
And they got a lot of structure. So we have structured naps and bedtimes. And anyway,
Yeah. Like dogs.
Yeah, like dogs.
Yeah.
And same thing. I've noticed a gigantic difference in comparison. Same thing with going out with a dog that has structure and balance.
That's right.
Are you getting dragged, or are you, whatever.
Yeah, that's
right. So how do you like Tennessee? Like
oh my gosh.
What's it like? So where were you before Colorado? Just Boulder.
Yeah. Our office was in Denver, and I love Colorado. It's beautiful. Obviously,
I was born there, so I'm big fan.
Where were you born?
Springs.
Oh, okay,
Colorado
yeah.
Springs.
It's beautiful there. I have really good roots there. I ran a bunch of humane initiatives for the governor there. I'm very involved in the state, but I thought it was time for us to move the company over as we start to hire more people. I love, for this Southern California born and raised guy, like I just love Southern people, and I love like their work ethic is amazing. They're no ma'am, yes ma'am all the time. They're polite. They're lovely. They're very positive, and I usually move someplace for the people. That's usually my
that's cool.
My big thing. I think my future is going to take me into starting a regenerative farm in some way as soon as I have a little bit more extra time. But I think that's kind of where I'm going. So that my sights are set ahead of, the next few years on that.
Very cool.
And it's gorgeous, and it's just south of Nashville, and so I have access to a big city if I need, but it's quiet, and it's lovely, and it's small town feel, and I don't know, I love it. It's.
How long have you been there now?
It's been a couple months.
You're loving it.
Yeah, we've been. Yeah, it's just great. Well, of course, when a place is new, it's super magical.
Yeah.
But I know that once that newness wears off, it'll be, it's crazy. Like there's just great, amazing talent walking in town. It's like I grew up in Los Angeles, and you might see celebrities, but people are hounding them, and all the country music people live either in Franklin or just north of it, and nobody bothers them, and people are nice, and it honestly just feels very nice and calm and lovely.
Yeah, I like Tennessee. We just did a seminar right outside of Nashville. I don't know when the heck that was, but probably like 3 or 4 months ago. And we go to Nashville all the time for work, and my wife loves it there. And, we'd love to go somewhere where we could spread our wings a little bit. Because I think the hard thing for me, coming from travel is hard for me, because we're getting opportunities all over the world now.
Yeah.
Sydney, London, LA, wherever, and upstate New York, we have Albany, and we have to hub everywhere, and it's just and for people to get to us or whatever. Like whenever I'm doing meetings, they're like, "No, what airport would we fly into?" I'm like, "Albany." They're like, or they'll say JFK or LaGuardia. I'm like, "Albany." It's.
You should hop on the jet with your salmon.
Yeah, with my strapped in steaks. Yeah, so it's kind of it's nice to have roots here, but I was born in Colorado, and then we moved to Indiana, and then we moved here, and and I get it. My wife is like, she's been here her whole life. Her whole life she was born here, and she's like, I just want a change of scenery. I don't want to live my whole life knowing this place, but the good thing about our careers is we get to travel a lot, and that's what I keep telling her and reminding her. I'm like, yeah, but just hold your, just blink and we're going to be somewhere else anyway.
Yeah.
Traveling, and that we kind of have that, what you were saying is that novelty of being in a new place, and it's this special moment. We kind of have that continually, because we'll be in a new city every other month, and sometimes every other week, depending on the time of year.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool thing, is right when we start to be know the streets and the restaurants and the, whatever.
That's the best.
Yeah. Abby, when she travels with us too, and she'll find the coffee spots, and, we'll find the breakfast spots, and we'll just kind of, this place is good. And then before you know it, right about when we get comfortable, we're gone.
Yep.
Off to the next place. And it's like the best of both worlds. So
yeah,
that's cool that you're enjoying that. So, what else can you tell the people about Gussy's Gut and the things that they can do to help their dogs? Because it seems like you've devoted your life to helping dogs. You took your entrepreneurship, your entrepreneurship craftsmanship, and then developed it into a company with dogs. And what can people do? It doesn't even have to be a health thing. What are you finding through talking to people like me and other people like Amy from We Feed Raw and other dog companies that you're helping out and working with? What can people do to have a healthier life with their dog?
Yeah, obviously it depends on who. Mostly we serve folks who don't have a lot of time, a lot of extra time. So we understand that. And if I started a company for and with Dr. Billinghurst called the Billinghurst Institute. So instead of .com, it's .institute, www. And we teach people how to feed raw, so on their own, and in this complete and balanced way, if you want to use that term. Although Dr. B does not like that term, but effectively. Okay, so we have a pet parent course, and we also we certify people to teach that to other people. So on a consultation basis.
What would you call them? Like if I got certified, what would I be?
They're BRNC, Billinghurst Raw Nutrition Certified, so BRNC certified. And so we have a pet parent and a pet professional course. And Dr. Nick Thompson is also an instructor in that program. He does a course as well, also for pet parent and also for pet professionals. So
that's very cool.
We have that. And then, and that's been a tremendous help to a lot of people. And, you know, Dr. Billinghurst doesn't have a lot of time. He's retired. He still does consults, but they're costly, and you get a lot more of him in the Billinghurst Institute. It's all created by him, and he even hops on once a month and talks to all the students. So you can ask him anything you want. So that's that. And then, you know, we're expanding we're coming out with a very an amazing product that's for big dogs and multi-dog households. It's going to be more affordable than the first product we had come out. And we're really excited about it because it's going to be able to offer a suite for people to like start with our first product that has 19 ingredients, you know, really throw the kitchen sink at improving the gut in 90 days. So that's a 90-day head start. Then you can move to our new product. Well, it's somewhat new, called Youthful Grasses and Sprouts. We just ferment grasses and sprouts. That's all we do. There's 7 of them. And then the new formula we have coming out is going to have 9 ingredients. And they're all varied and different, so you can mix and match. You can, you know, provide a variety of gut health. And so that's what we do really well, is all gut health. And we stay in that lane. And then we have a treat called Guttables. That's with Heritage Regenerative Ranch Pork. We put our own fermented blend in there. It's a small little, you know, ingredient blend. And raw organic Manuka honey from New Zealand. And that's also really good for the gut, just a little bit. And so that's our suite of services. We're a nice little small family-run company, and we want to do what we do at a very high level. We don't want to go outside of gut health. And I'm working right now on launching a new company with 3 holistic vets that will be a little bit more on the supplement side, but at a really high level. Again, paying attention to that sourcing and that processing and the way we make from the sourcing to the encapsulations or the bottling of that product. So we're hoping to set a new standard in pet supplements with that company, and that's something we'll announce, you know, this summer.
Cool. Yeah, that's exciting.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's something I always think about. I'm like, what? Because it takes me like, you know, in the morning, it's like the AG1 and then the creatine and then the aminos and then, you know, the vitamins. And it's like, and I'm like, and my dog's looking, I'm like, I wonder, I've always thought about that. Like if there was a multivitamin, but a lot of that is in the food that they eat anyway. Yeah. Because they're animals, right? Yeah. So,
yeah, you know what, my first 2 dogs I had as an adult, you know, we hadn't talked about, like, I would honestly say I was pretty traumatized when I was 16, like how quick how little I had my dog. And when that dog died, I was like, what? Like, how can I keep this dog living longer? So I started diving into all these books about human longevity because there wasn't at the time anything about dogs. And I became super interested in that topic. So even at the age of 17, when we're talking, you know, 1990, you know, I was talking about what we're talking about now with hydrogenated oils, because I was reading these books, omega-6s, glyphosate, you know, herbicides, pesticides, all these things. I was reading about these things. And then I was learning from, you know, like Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw. They have a company called had a company called Life Extension. And the book was called Life Extension, really thick book. And I was not really a great reader growing up, but I was just devouring this book because it was so interesting. It was teaching how nutrients, individual nutrients, could be levers and dials in your health, you know? And absolutely. I like that idea, like the manipulative, like I can affect positively my change by dialing this up and bringing this down. And so, you know, I'm 53 now, so it's been a long time, and I have just been immersed in this field for not only myself, my family. I'm the annoying guy who sends all the stuff about, you know, health to all my family, always have been. And then I brought it to my dogs. And at the beginning, though, I made the mistake of supplementing my puppies. And, you know, I think that I would stick, that I have with Gus, is I've stuck with more food as a supplement. Obviously a meal is a meal, but using food-based ingredients as a supplement whenever I can, because that's always the best. Some vets now believe like you can create like, supplement gut, where you're just throwing so many supplements in instead of really good quality food.
Yeah.
So there's this disparity between the food giving the nutrients, and these things are not recognized easily by the bodies. So, if you look at like, for example, glucosamine, we've gotten away from the original origin of glucosamine, and we're now we have figured it out, meaning scientists have figured out how to make it from other things, and the body doesn't necessarily quite get it. So I've gotten away from that, and now Gus is 8, so when he becomes like 12, 13, 14, 15, I'll probably introduce some things that I think are a little bit more like targeted to whatever I'm seeing from him, whatever I think I need for him. And that could be different for every dog, so there's not even any point in bringing it up. But, I've also put my last 2 labs, Buddy and Owen, I put them through hyperbaric. They've had IV nutrients, so they've literally had a port in their arm for like 5 days. I take them to the vet. In 5 days consecutively, they get a Myers cocktail and glutathione, all the stuff that people are getting now. And, that, and I mean, laser therapy and chiropractic and acupuncture and what are those called? The RF beds, So all those things that like, thoroughbred horses were getting because the money's there, but we're finding out it works great for dogs. I was trying to look at how now they're available.
You should create a health institute in Franklin, just like that.
I'm sure everybody in Franklin would love that. Everybody flies down to go to the dog institute.
That would be huge, because that's like for me when I go to. I'm doing NAD drips, and I'm doing the cocktails too, just for hydration and travel, and beating my body up basically of just pushing through, whatever it takes. And, it's huge. It's like there's tons of them. And even in Saratoga, there's like 5 places that you can go get IV therapy, and they're just popping up.
Yeah.
But imagine if you did a dog retreat, like the place down in Austin, Ways to Well, where they're doing all the stem cells and stuff, where people are flying in to get all that really cool treatment. And you'd be like the first person, maybe, and definitely in Tennessee, that opens up a clinic specifically for dog IVs and and you get all these holistic vets that would be cool.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it would be very, like the hyperbaric. The reason I did hyperbaric was obviously there's lots of benefits to that, but they actually were just finding out when I started doing it that it creates stem cells. It creates it
naturally.
Naturally allows the body to create stem cells. And one of my dogs, Buddy, had like a neurodegenerative issue in his back end. Where the hind legs would kind of start sinking.
Yeah, sure.
So I'd always call him a land shark. Like he had to keep walking in order to not sink. If he stopped walking, he just.
Yeah.
But again, kitchen sink. I threw it all at him, and I mean, he'd have somebody do acupuncture and chiro, and like I did e-stim to him. I mean, this dog was like getting all kinds of stuff to keep his quality up.
It's great.
And sometimes if that's what you want to do, you have to do it. And those things do pay off. There's a lot of things you could do that aren't exactly the best first order thing to do. But if you figure out what those things are and you get the right advice, you'll get to the heart of it.
Yeah, I think it's exciting, right? Because for me, I'm just interested in learning more about this stuff. Like and it's overwhelming because you go online and you listen to podcasts and you listen to people, and this is new, and do this and don't do that. And there's like a meme where it's like the guy's washing his fruit. Don't wash your fruit because of the fluoride. And then he takes it out. He's like, make sure you do that. It's just like he can't eat the fruit because all these different things. And that's
ridiculous.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. And that's how I feel all the time. But I'm just trying to navigate it as a human, but also, do it with dog people who are like doing what you're doing. Yeah. Where you're reading these books and you're making your own. You've made your own company of a superfood for the dog's gut biome, and it's just fascinating to me to see how dogs can also benefit from the things that we are now learning and we are now benefiting. Like, oh, I ate this steak the other day and I knew exactly where it came from and I knew what herd it was in. And like, that's just stuff that nobody, well, I shouldn't say that. Back in the day, that's all they had was I made my own farm and I knew all the pigs by name and whatever. But now we're so far away from that because of fast food and processed stuff like
Convenience.
yeah, man, and like the freaking airports of the world. That's why I like finding that company, Carnivore Snacks or whatever. I am like fired up because I'm like, I can pack. I'm thinking like how many I could pack in my suitcase.
Oh yeah. I do the same thing. I do grass-fed jerky and that brand or others, and dehydrated mango. That's all I bring.
It's funny, I'm a huge dehydrated mango guy.
Yeah, it's like, that's it.
Huge. Yeah. What company? I like the Soli, Soley.
Oh yeah, that's what I get.
Yeah.
That one.
I love their branding.
There's a couple that are regenerative that I'll buy. They're less tasty lately. I don't know why, but I just think it's what they're picking or how they're slicing it. But see, my mouth is watering thinking about it. But I don't like the really sweet mango, like super super sweet, But those two things I could basically survive on for 3 days.
That's so funny. That's where I ended up too.
Yeah, and it's just easy.
In my car, you'll find a package of solely organic mango fruit, and you'll find like some sort of beef something. Yeah. And it's funny because that's what I crave. I'm like, I want a little fruit. I want a little protein.
Yeah, and I use Element. That's it.
Yeah, we used actually we started off with this company. We started off with Liquid IV. Then we went to Element. Now we have Water Boy. Is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
So it has B in it, and it has one other vitamin in it.
Okay.
So it's the same sodium, I think, and it's the same electrolyte intake as Element T, but it has B and something else in it.
Okay. Yeah. Now I use like half of a package of Elements. I don't need it to be as sweet, and I add in this Baja Gold salt to make it more. I like salty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love salty.
Yeah.
And I give it to Gus too.
More salt. Cool, Rob.
Yeah.
It's been great, man. You want to plug anything? Social medias, websites?
Well, I want to plug fermentation. So you absolutely don't need to buy from us. You can ferment on your own. Go to a farmer's market, buy stuff that you want to give to your dog, feed any way you want seasonally. You can ferment almost anything. And so I just want to say, absolutely get fermentation into your dog. And you don't need a lot. So if that's what you want to do it and just feed raw fermented, just put it in a food processor and you'll get it done, especially if you have a lot of dogs. But if you want to come to us for that, great. But I just really want to support like the raw food and the biologically appropriate feeding, and that includes some small element of fermentation and bones, and if feeding raw the right way is something you want to learn, come to Billinghurst Institute, and come to our site, gussiesgut.com, and you'll learn about the new company we're launching with 3 vets, and that'll be a completely separate company.
That's great. Thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for the opportunity and the invite.
And for Gussy coming along too. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.